Here is the latest Higher Summits forecast brought to you by our friends at the Mount Washington Observatory.
Weather above treeline in the White Mountains is often wildly different than at our trailheads. Before you hike, check the Higher Summits forecast at mountwashington.org. Weather observers working at the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory write this elevation-based forecast every morning and afternoon. Search and rescue teams, avalanche experts, and backcountry guides all rely on the Higher Summits forecast to anticipate weather conditions above treeline. You should too. Go to mountwashington.org or text forecast to 603-356-2137. And here is your forecast for Friday, March 29th and Saturday, March 30th. Friday, in the clouds with snow. Possible snow accumulations of 2 to 4 inches. High in the upper teens. Winds will be northwest at 40 to 55 miles per hour, increasing to 60 to 75 miles per hour, with gusts up to 95 miles per hour late. And the wind chill will be falling to 5 below to 15 below. Friday night, in the clouds with snow, trending towards mostly in the clouds with a chance of snow showers late. The temp will be low single digits. Winds will be northwest at 75 to 90 miles per hour, with gusts up to 105 miles per hour. Wind chill falling to 20 below to 30 below. And Saturday, mostly in the clouds under mostly clear skies, with a high rising to the mid-teens. Winds will be northwest at 70 to 85 miles per hour, decreasing to 55 to 70 miles per hour, with gusts up to 85 miles per hour. And the wind chill will be rising to 10 below to 20 below.
Broadcasting from the Woodpecker Studio in the great state of New Hampshire, welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Here are your hosts, Mike and Stump.
All right, you recording, Stomp?
I am recording. It's a miracle.
Episode 145, the episode where Stomp's camera had gremlins in it.
Apparently. What the hell?
Are you all settled in now?
I am. Yeah, I'm a little anxious now.
Jesus, thank God you have that new studio. Everything's messed up now.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got the jitters now. Like, oh boy.
All right, take a deep breath, Stomp.
Yeah, it's all in the breathing. It's all in the breathing.
All right. So let's start off with something that will put you even more into the jitter. You got fact-checked by a listener.
Oh, really? Well, how so?
Yeah. So, and I don't know if you even saw this, because, and we'll talk about this earlier, but every once in a blue moon, I almost never go into Instagram. Like, occasionally I'll look, like I'll get a notification and I'll be like, oh, somebody sent a request for a message or whatever. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking, but this person sent a message in. Okay. And this listener, and it was like this big, long message, and it was about how you messed up. And she's like, your assertion about, we were talking about this national park thing where they're getting sued for not allowing people to pay cash, and they've got the kiosks. Right. So this person I feel like this person doesn't like us, but I think that's kind of funny anyway. But they were like, just a heads up, your 25% figure. So in this episode, and I went back and listened because I was so excited that I get to fact check you. You had said 25% of people.
Wait a minute. I'm getting fact checked twice.
Yeah. I fact checked the fact check. So you had said, and I understand what happened here, is you had said 25% of the population in the U.S. Does not have cards. And I think what you meant is that they don't have a credit card, which is correct. 25% of the population, adult population, I'm assuming, does not have credit cards. So in theory, what you were saying is that they wouldn't have a credit card to put in the kiosk. This listener was like, that doesn't pass the smell test. And they were like 95.5% of households have bank accounts, which means they all have debit cards. And of those without bank accounts, 65% have access to prepaid debit cards. So it's actually a small population of people that don't have the cards.
Well, yeah. What's her source on that?
I don't know. You can look at you guys can fight it out on.
No. I'll just tell you where I got my information from. So I have the lawsuit that they filed in federal court. And the lawsuit references, well, this is what it is. So I originally had looked at the 2017 FDIC survey about people that are underbanked and unbanked. And according to that 2017 survey, it's 25%. The lawsuit credits the 2021 FDIC survey. And it looks at underbanked and, unbanked. So when you combine unbanked and underbanked, it can average up to about 22 to 25%. So it's in the lawsuit. Right. That's what I was looking at.
So Stomp has fact checked the fact checker. So let's see if they come back with more. So I think it's a he.
This stuff is in the lawsuit, and it's federal government data. And if you look at what unbanked means, that means that a household doesn't have a checking account or savings account. Underbanked means that they use some form of banking, but it's like money orders or check writing or remittances or something like that. So if you look at black households, it can actually range up to like 8% and even higher for Hispanic households. So it's sort of a complicated area when you're looking at all the numbers, but I'm just, spitting out what's in the lawsuit. That's all.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought I had you. I thought I had you in a pickle, but I guess not. Stomp. Well done.
Well, yeah, but it is complicated though. So there's all kinds of different things. There's people now like using Venmo. So all these percentages can vary dramatically. But the basic point of that lawsuit is that the National Park Service is denying entry to a sizable portion of the population. I'm sure that this person can agree with that. And that's just not cool because that's outside of the realm of their whole mission. Their whole mission is to allow people to enjoy these places, not deny them access to these places. So, yeah,
exactly. Excellent. All right. So welcome to episode 145 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. It is opening day for Major League Baseball. So we're recording this on March 28th.
My favorite.
In honor of opening day, I am welcoming in summer. So I don't want to talk about spring. We're skipping spring. Don't even care about spring. So I don't care that it's March. I don't care that we just got a blizzard last weekend. The warm weather is coming. I demand it. So with that in mind, we're going to be welcoming back our friend Brice from Vaucluse Gear to give us some updates on all things Vaucluse. So we've talked about Vaucluse a lot. We're one of our advertisers, and they sell the Ultralight Backpack Ventilation Frame. So we're thinking about warm weather. We're thinking about sweating. So he's got some updates on the product as well as some new plans he's going to share with us. So we'll be looking forward to talk with him for a little segment. And then we're going to keep the summer theme going. We're going to keep that in mind because we also have a breakdown of some of the gear that you're going to need to swap out as the warmer weather arrives. And then we'll also break down the top recommended hikes this summer in Evans Notch. So I've talked a lot about Evans Notch. I want to keep the focus on Evans Notch. It's time to remind people once again about one of the best, but also most overlooked areas in the White Mountains. Also, we got an update on the Reconciliation and Place Names Committee. Some activity going on with that. And then we've got some fun facts about toilet paper use in the White Mountains. We've got some animal news. We've got Stomp pulled some subscription prices for alltrails, and he's got questions. And then we got some search and rescue news. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Stomp, the fact-checked. Let's get started.
Let's get started. So wow, that was a long opener there. So let's go into the brand spanking new hiking buddy spot with our posh friend Andrew Barlow.
Here we go.
This is Ben Pease from Hiking Buddies. We are a 501c3 nonprofit committed to reducing avoidable tragedies through education, impactful projects, and fostering a community of support. You can find out more at hikingbuddies.org. We wanted to say thank you to those who have supported our mission, and most importantly, say thanks to those who speak up, who ask questions, and who are willing to provide guidance and assistance on the trails when needed. You embody what it means to be a hiking buddy. And now, for all my newer hikers out there, here's this episode's Hiking Buddies Quick Tip.
Rain, or a slippery rock on a water crossing, can get more than your boots wet. Keep spare socks, matches, lighters, maps, medicine, and powders in gallon-sized baggies if you don't own dry bags. It's inexpensive and works great.
Oh, that's great, huh? They did a nice job putting that together.
They did. And I noticed, Stomp, we do that little noise where we go, that's supposed to be like edited out. That's like the signal to be edited out. But last episode, you kept it in. And I was like, why is he keeping that in?
Because it's just so silly.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, I'll just make a weird noise so Stomp will know to edit it out. And then he doesn't even edit it out.
Yeah, it's a riot. I just like, oh, that's really silly.
Yeah. And for the listeners, just you can't see here, but Stomp he must not have beer tonight, so he's drinking water, but he's drinking out of his duct tape sock koozie.
That's right.
Why do you have your duct tape sock koozie on?
It's permanent. It's impossible to get that koozie off of this Nalgene bottle because it's sort of tight at the top, so you can't take it off. So,
How was it tight at the top? Did you just wrap it with tape?
Yeah, it sort of compresses in on the curve at the top, so it's pretty much permanent.
Okay.
Perfect little vessel for bacteria and mold to grow, I would think.
Yeah, like, I don't want to know what the cleaning situation is there, but that's fine. That's fine. All right, Stomp. So happy Easter in advance of Easter. Yeah. So I'm solo with, I got 2 kids, so I think we're going to do Easter breakfast this year. And then we got to go pick up Mrs. Mike at the airport, so no big plans for us.
When are you going for breakfast, Sunday morning?
I'm just going to cook breakfast. I'm going to do
I got you.
Big breakfast for the girls.
Yeah, no big plans here either, but nothing planned. But it's a nice time of the year. It's just spring, it's the hallmark of spring. It's like, despite the fact that we had a giant snowstorm 3 days ago.
Yeah, that's crazy. We'll talk about that a little bit. But first, we got some hiking drama, Stomp. I didn't even look at this. Must be late breaking. I didn't even see this on the script.
We're about to serve up some tasty hiking drama.
Yeah, so a listener, Sarah Erlewine, sent this in for us for hiking drama, and apparently a IG Instagrammer with the title of Blogalates is taking heat for designing hiking overalls. What do you think about that? Do you have a bias against
overalls?
I do too. I think they're great. I haven't actually owned a pair in quite a long time, but I would wear those in a heartbeat. But
where are the overalls? I'm trying to find them.
Well, it's a design there. Oh goodness, I'm still on airplane mode. It's a design that she was asking a question about how to tailor the ankle end of the overalls, whether you cinch them in or have them wider. And what's interesting is the comment section. People are just taking her to town because she's designing some overalls. I don't know. People have too much time on their hands with this social media stuff, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, like, I think just social media in general, people like to take. So all right. So I see the comments here. So it's like a bunch of like purist hikers that are like, you don't know what you're doing and blah blah blah. So I don't know. We'll post it in the show. We'll post it in the show notes, and people can decide.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think, she looks like a beautiful lady, and I'd love to see her in hiking overalls.
There you go.
So that's fine. Yeah, I feel like a lot of like hiker chicks like wear overalls, at least maybe not hiking, but like when they're not hiking. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a cool look. I wonder if the overalls would be some synthetic type of, or maybe canvas or something. Appropriate for the hills as opposed to cotton.
I'm surprised you don't wear. If you ever wore overalls when you were doing painting stuff.
No, I have worn suspenders though quite a bit, and the goofy ones, goofy wide red ones with the clips.
Yeah, you're a suspenders guy.
Yeah,
I've seen you wear those.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I got turned on to that whole style by watching the AMC trail crews just working on the trails. A lot of those people would wear big giant suspenders and look super cool. I was like, hey, I got to get me some of those.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I could do. You definitely like the suspender look on you makes sense. For me, it's I'm too young and spryly looking for suspenders. You're more
the Santa
elderly.
Yeah, the Santa look. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. All right, so moving on to Reddit. So I stole this off of Reddit for the White Mountain sub, but I thought it was interesting. In 2023, the Pemi Ranger District. So this is basically like Lincoln Woods up to, I think, Crawford Path, and then down across to Moosilauke and up to like Twin Mountain in that area. That it's like the western section of the White Mountains. The Pemi Ranger District replaced 3,560 rolls of toilet paper at various trailheads. So this is like Lincoln Woods, I think the Franconias, that area. So that's 137.5 miles of toilet paper rolled up. Huh. So, and there's like from I-93 exit 20 until it merges with I-91 all the way to the Canadian border. Huh. So, and that equals, they pulled out 35,000 gallons of solid waste they pumped out of the various toilets.
Oh man, isn't that nasty? That's incredible.
It's necessary, Stomp.
Yeah, it sure is. Now, is that like an entire year, or is it seasonal? Because I know some of these places may be closed for the winters.
Yeah, I think it's over the course of a year. It was like, so somebody in Reddit posted it, and I think that they had gotten it off of the Pemi Ranger District Facebook page. They said that they had replaced, 3,560 rolls of toilet paper. So it's essentially like, I don't know what that is. That's like,
wait a minute,
10,
so 35,
that's like
60.
10 rolls of toilet paper a week or something. So it's not bad. And yeah, you got a lot of like some sections closed down, and then you've got like a lot of weekends where I imagine the weekends are probably where it's pretty busy.
Yeah, that's mind blowing. That's a lot.
Have you ever been into a trailhead toilet where there's no toilet paper?
Oh, plenty of times.
You have?
Absolutely. One that's notorious is the Basin, and secondarily Lost River up at Beaver Brook. Those are notorious. Yeah, they're always out.
Yeah. I mean, I always have toilet paper in my backpack, so that's something I carry. So if I need it, it's no big deal.
Yeah. So. Interesting. It's a bummer. No pun intended. Oh.
Yeah. That's a good one. And then this was a good time. So this story reminded me, Stomp, of the infamous guy who crawled into the toilet pit up in Maine.
Yeah.
You remember this story?
Vaguely. What's the deal with that again?
So this was 49. So this guy was 49 years old in 2009. So he's now 15 years later. He is now almost a retirement age. So 64-year-old guy by the name of Gary Moody of Pittston, Maine. In 2005, the Forest Service had arrested him, where he was seen climbing out of a toilet. At the time, in 2005, he claimed that he was retrieving his wedding ring. And then in 2000, but they didn't believe him at the time. But in 2009, a Maine man was caught peering up at a girl from below an outhouse toilet seat 4 years ago and stands accused of crawling into another pit toilet in the White Mountain National Forest in New Hampshire. So this happened on Memorial Day, and a 9-year-old boy, I guess, saw him climbing out of the toilet at Hastings Campground, and then 2 other witnesses saw him walking away from the outhouse. So this guy's got a thing.
That is so weird, man. That's so nasty.
Weird. But that's a thing, is like, so if you are going into one of these toilets, make sure you bring your headlamp and look in, see what's going on down there.
Yeah, be sure to do that.
Dude, I'm so glad that whatever these people are born with that are into that stuff, like, I'm so glad that I wasn't born with that.
Yeah.
So,
oh God.
Anyway, so I'm glad I'm making Stomp laugh. He had a rough night. He was technical problems, but he's better now. Yeah. So Stomp, what's up with AllTrails subscription price? You feel like there's some volatility there.
Yeah, I guess so. I noticed it myself. So on my Instagram, I would see the AllTrail advertisement scroll by, and one day it would say, $17. Next day it would say, back to $34, and then $25. So I don't know what they're doing, but what would cause a company to do that? Are they in trouble, or is everything cool and they're just, I don't get it. So I posted a picture there. There's one of the commenters saying, yeah, you were just $17.99 yesterday. What's going on? I don't get it.
I don't know. Maybe they do like different discounts, but I will say, like, Gaia GPS, which is what I use, I think it's like $59 annually.
Yeah.
And I've been very happy with it. And I think that it doesn't have maybe some of the social aspects of AllTrails that people like. You can't really, like, I guess you can, like, people do it. I don't really pay much attention to it, but you can, like, rate hikes and things like that. But I don't really do any of the social stuff like Gaia. I like, it's just like straightforward, like the map. You can create your routes. It tells you where you are on trail, and you download the map to your phone directly, and it's all good. So for me personally, I recommend Gaia. If AllTrails wants to sponsor us, I may change my mind, but otherwise I'm going with Gaia GPS.
So do you get the sense that AllTrails is still in regular use out there by people?
Oh yeah, I think by far, like, they have the best marketing out there, and like they show up on the recommended apps and all that stuff. So I think that, like, Gaia GPS, I think, is for people that are sort of like really into it, and AllTrails just shows up whenever you're looking for, like, hiking route recommendations. So I think a lot of people use it. And I also think it has, like, maybe better free features than Gaia does. So
yeah,
that's why it probably is appealing to people.
Oh, okay. Well, keep an eye on it. It is sort of weird.
I know a lot of people that use it and love it, so I'm not knocking it. I've never used it, so I really can't say. But although I just heard some bad things about, like, people getting lost because
it takes you the wrong way,
hikes and things like that.
Right?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I think it also, like, if people do a hike enough, like, they go off trail and they do a hike, then sometimes it can say that it's a trail and it's not really a trail.
Correct. Yeah, I've heard horror stories about that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Stomp, moving on. We've got some, you pulled a couple of articles about scary animals being moved closer to humans. So the current presidential administration is accelerating plans to relocate grizzlies into rural Washington, and the locals are not happy about it. We've covered this story in different forms over the last year or so. But, in the lower 48, most people do not live around these enormous grizzly bears. So there's a little bit of concern about this from, I guess, people that are in Washington. So it's called Great Land. And the National Park Service had published a final environmental impact statement evaluating its option for grizzly bear management. And they're designating grizzly bears to be released into the U.S. portion of the North Cascades ecosystem as an experimental population that would provide authorized agencies with greater management flexibility should conflict situations arise.
Yeah.
So the locals are not happy about this. And the response is that the status included in today's announcement may be the administration's attempt to placate the state, but we continue to stand with the ranchers and rural families in Northwest Washington who do not want this proposal to move forward at all. Yeah. Dropping new apex predators into rural America's backyards is not something the federal government should undertake without consensus.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes into some arguments against it, too. I mean, they're big, 600-pound beasts, fast. They can rip the door off your truck to get your cooler. They can smell the contents of that cooler from the next time zone. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, this is one of these things where, like, it's sort of like, okay, from a distance, it's like, you know, we want to expand the area that the grizzlies can live in and maybe expand their population a little bit. But then you also, like, the rubber meets the road when you're talking about, like, people that have little kids and people that want to enjoy the outdoors, and you're putting in a basically like an apex predator that hasn't been in the area for years and years, and who knows what unforeseen consequences may happen.
Yeah. Everything would alter in the area to some degree. So interesting story.
Yep. And then speaking of, apex predators and scary things, a man is dead and the brother injured after a mountain lion attack in California. So 21-year-old guy died. His 18-year-old brother was injured after a mountain lion attacked them in Northern California on last Saturday afternoon. So it happened around 1 p.m., 50 miles northeast of Sacramento. The 18-year-old was able to call for help after being attacked while hunting for shed antlers with his brother. So these guys will probably, pretty experienced outdoorsmen if they were doing that type of activity. And ultimately, like, the sheriff's office found the mountain lion crouching near the 21-year-old, and they fired at the animal, which caused it to flee the area. They rushed to aid the man, but the sheriff's office said he was deceased. So the 18-year-old was sent to the hospital and expected to be okay. And they were able to ultimately they were able to trap it and kill the animal. So they said that this is the first fatal attack in 30 years in that particular area. So
that's pretty scary.
Scary, very scary.
Huh. All right.
So one mountain lion taking on two young, healthy guys.
Right. Oh, yeah. Easy peasy. Yeah, they mean business for sure.
Yep.
All right. Grizzlies and cats.
Are you ready for Slasher's Peer Review?
And next up, Stump, we have a story. Again, we've been covering this a little bit, so shout out to our friend James. James, he'll send me some stuff too. He's kind of like Al. He's got a pretty good vibe of what we're into here. So he just sent this article from PC Magazine. FCC approves rules to help satellite providers beam service to your phone. So essentially, like, this is the regulatory approval step that's needed to allow the satellite communication to connect with the mobile phone providers. What this is going to do is to build out the framework in order to make sure that the protocols between how the satellites connect to the cell towers and how the satellite providers are going to work with the wireless carriers. So the way this is shaping up right now is that SpaceX is partnering with T-Mobile to bring cellular Starlink service to carriers' customers later this year. AT&T is working with a startup called AST Space Mobile. So AST Space Mobile is out of Texas. Their satellites are actually they pay SpaceX to send their satellites up. So they're going to be dedicated specifically to this technology around allowing for cell technology to connect to satellite. And then Starlink obviously has a much larger footprint. So I don't know what Verizon's doing at this point, but essentially like the next step for them is they need to just wait for FCC approval to commercially launch their services. But the regulatory framework promises that it should streamline this process. It says that there is another step where they're going to have to figure out how the satellite companies get access to the wireless radio signals. So they have to basically purchase part of the spectrum in order to make this work. But otherwise, like this is the big step. And then the rest of it is just, I think, process implementation on how to make it happen. So this will be pretty good. So essentially, I would say within the next 2 to 3 years, when you buy a new cell phone for all these major carriers, you'll have the option to have satellite connection. I still think you're going to have a clear sky, but I do think that we'll be living in a world pretty soon where, cell connection will be an option pretty much anywhere in the world.
And that's a good thing. I mean, it would really be fantastic to have that safety in your toolkit there if you get in trouble. It's like the worst thing ever, not having connection to the outside world when you're in trouble out there.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how this disrupts like the Garmins of the world and personal locator beacons and things like that. Because I think the weakness with the cell phone is the battery life and the reliability. I think these Garmin devices are much more reliable when it comes to like batteries and weather and things like that. So
yeah, no doubt.
So anyway,
cool.
But that's good news. So I have an update regarding we've talked about this before, but there's some updates related to place names. So we've talked about there was a group that wanted to change Mount Washington's name to Agiacook. Yeah, whatever. So they wanted to change the name back. But there's a bigger thing going on at the federal level. So there's the Board of Geographic Names is the agency that's responsible for updating and changing geographic place names. And they tend to move pretty slowly. There's a process that you have to go through, at the state level, and then they'll bring it to the Board of Geographic Names. And then the biggest ones they've done recently is essentially like there was a initiative to wipe out the word squaw from any place name. So they've done that. Yeah. But there's a subcommittee called the Reconciliation and Place Names Subcommittee that was signed into law by the Bureau of Land Management, I think, or the Department of Interior. Mm-hmm. Interior basically set this up with the idea is that they're going to accelerate recommendations to the Board of Geographic Names in order to update any places that have derogatory names. So squaw is the example right now. So they've had a couple of meetings. The most recent meeting they had was in November, which was in Hawaii. And I just noticed that they dropped a bunch of new documents. They uploaded the minutes of those meetings, and then they uploaded a bunch of new documents. So I went through this to just get the highlights here. So, they spent 3 days on this conference, and they focused a lot the first day on the history of Hawaii. There was a lot of talks about making sure that they're engaging with the communities that are involved in the place names, especially the communities that feel like, they've been injured by the derogatory place names. So a lot about Native Americans and making sure that their voices are heard. And they've sort of talk about how this is going to be like an ongoing process. In evolving, and there was some interesting tidbits about Hawaii. So they had a couple of historian guys on that were talking about even in the 90s in Hawaii, they had to name some places that had I think traditional names, and they wanted to rename them into native names. They didn't even have words to name them, so they actually had to make up new native words to name these place names, even up until the 1990s, which I thought was interesting because you would think they'd be able to kind of go back, but they made up a bunch of new names in Hawaii. So I thought that was interesting. Huh. The other thing that they talked about is they're going in two paths with this stomp. So one is going to be a focus on derogatory words. So words that are clearly historically like can be perceived as being like pejorative towards a certain group or offensive to people. And then the other path that they've started to talk about is looking at the idea of place names that might be tied to like military and settler-led violence, aggression against indigenous Indians, sanctioned capture, transport, and enslavement of African people, as well as related beliefs and social policies that reinforce them, such as anything to do with like past white supremacy, Jim Crow laws, Japanese American incarceration, illegal deportation of Mexican citizens, and many other injustices. So I think that it's like that you got this one bucket of pejorative words, which I think is really easy to sort of get wrapped around. And I'll give you some examples of those in a minute. Then you've got this other bucket of sort of like, let's solve all these historical injustices, which I think gets into a little bit more difficulty. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But the easier piece of this is the derogatory place names. And some examples they have is like there's some places like Dead Indian Creek, Dead Mexican River, any words with red man in it, half breed, any words with bitch, variations of like the word black, cannibal, Chinaman, savage, gypsy, Eskimo, crazy horse, scalp, tramp, wild boy, wild Indian. So there are all these different places that have those words in them. So what they're doing is looking at sort of the background on those and making recommendations on renaming those and trying to work with like stakeholders to figure out like, okay, well, this place used to be called Gypsy something or other, and now we got to figure out what do we rename it. So it seems like a huge headache and a bit of a process, but that's basically what they talked about. The only actual concrete action that came out of this was that they sent a single recommendation to that they're going to bring up to the main committee to bring to the Board of Geographic Names, based on the word that's a shortened version of raccoon. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't want to say it here. I don't know. Yeah. But basically, the shortened version of the word raccoon can be used as a racial epithet. And what they're doing is recommending that place names that have that word be replaced with the full spelling of the name of raccoon. And then, but except in cases where the word is actually referencing a surname. So there's actually places where it's named that because that's the person's last name. In those cases, they're going to recommend that they add the person's first name so that it's like the full name instead of the name by itself. So that's basically what so 3 days in Hawaii, and that's the one thing that they came up with that they're sure about. And then everything else is like, we gotta keep talking about it. But there was also some public comments, Stomp, that I thought were interesting. So there's a coalition for outdoor renaming and education. I may reach out to these people and see if they want to come on. Okay. They had put in a public comment that, again, going back to that second piece that I talked about, where you've got the two paths, you've got the derogatory names, and then you've got the let's fix the historical injustices that we perceive happened. And this is where it gets into like, let's rename Mount Washington, let's rename the presidential, that type of view. Right. So the Coalition for Outdoor Renaming said that they feel strongly that commemorative place names that honor individuals who have perpetrated violence and caused harm should be included in the work of the committee. So these names condone the violence and the harm perpetrated by the individuals being honored and make people feel uncomfortable and excluded from these places. Addressing derogatory commemorative names should be included in the committee's work. And then they volunteered. They said, we're happy to assist in conducting the research and identifying these names. So they got their list ready to go. So I think this is worth checking out because this could be disruptive over time, because what you could find out is that, once they get through the regular derogatory names, that they start going after historical places, one person's view of like somebody that did a historical injustice versus another person's view may be completely different. So this could make for some good hiking drama for us, Stomp.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on it.
Yeah,
It's fascinating.
So I know the stuff drives you crazy, but I find it interesting.
It's interesting if it's done in a fair and honest manner without destroying and eradicating the history involved with it. And that's the problem, I think. You're just obliterating some of these historical instances that can actually teach us lessons for the future.
Yeah, and it's interesting for me because I like to see how the bread is made sometimes, and it's interesting to sort of read the minutes, go through how everything is, it's like a 3-day meeting in Hawaii with like 40, 50 people attending, and the one thing that comes out of it is just sort of a resolution to, update the pejorative word that's used for raccoon. And then they've got to talk about everything else, but they all got a nice trip out of it. So
yeah, taxpayer funded, right?
I'm assuming.
I can't wait to pay for that one.
Right, that's right. So
I just think there are bigger issues in the world at the moment, but that's okay. We'll let them have their fun.
Not in our world, Stomp.
Yeah,
you got to pay attention to this for the listeners.
True.
Anyway, so moving on. So solar eclipse news here, Stomp. We got everything you need to know about April 8th.
Yeah. It's just a follow-up on our last discussion about that. It is coming up close, but this article's cool. It does sort of explain the path of totality. Looks like Lancaster's going to be huge, Stewartstown, Colebrook, Errol, Pittsburgh. And it also goes into where you can go to look, where you can, not where you can find eyeglasses, but I suppose you could do that too, but what kind of eyeglasses you should be wearing for this. So you don't burn out your eyeballs. And it actually goes into times too. So partial eclipse beginning at 2:16 p.m., et cetera, et cetera. Pretty cool. It's coming up quick.
Yeah. I saw some articles. Somebody had said like they're asking people to stay on the highways and not the back roads. I saw somebody had said that right now it's trending towards like 80% likelihood that it's going to be like overcast skies.
Yes.
So who knows?
That's what I said like weeks ago. I mean, just the pattern we've been in has just been wild for cloudy, overcast, and whatever. Yeah, anyhow,
it's just gross.
Crazy.
Crazy. So, all right, Stomp. And then you said that there potentially was like a boom in Conway and then maybe a earthquake in Guilford. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, apparently there was a earthquake in Guilford measuring 2.2, but at the same time or approximate to that, there was reports of this boom or multiple booms that happened in Conway. And I just find it interesting. I'm not sure 100%. I tried to see if it was connected, but generally you can anticipate somewhat of I call it a swarm maybe? I don't know, but it's a ripple effect. So if you have a quake in one area, you can certainly have impact elsewhere. And some of these fault lines in New Hampshire do sort of go that direction, north-south. So I don't know. I was just curious. I've not heard anything in terms of people reporting, rumblings or anything like that, but just this odd boom that happened.
Yeah, it seems like, it's been pretty consistent that we've had these like little tremors.
Yeah.
For the last few years. So I wonder, maybe the big one's coming, Stomp.
I don't know. Not sure. But it's fun to think about.
It sure is. Hopefully I won't be around. But speaking of the big one, massive avalanche on Mount Washington.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Gingerbeard.
This weekend we had some big snow, and then on Tuesday, March 20th, there was an avalanche that crashed through Tuckerman Ravine, tossing like trees dozens of feet, and somebody had videotaped like the aftermath and noted that it was a pretty powerful one. So, the destruction and distribution of tree debris from the powder cloud, produced, a lot of destruction here. It said trees were thrown like 20 yards either side of the avalanche degree and 40 yards downhill. So,
yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. And if you're a huge football fan like me, you know what yards are, 20 yards, 40 yards. Yeah, you're talking my language.
I do. Yeah. You threw me off when you said a huge football fan. I got confused.
That would be a joke.
Right. Yeah. All right. And now, speaking of a joke, I played a little joke on you with the Instagram page here, Stomp. So, like I said, in the show, I don't really go on the Instagram that often, but occasionally I do, and I think I screw Stomp up. So I'm going to stay away from it moving forward.
No, I just have to be a little bit more aware of it, but I think that may be the issue because I do get these letters or messages, from certain listeners saying, "Hey, did you get my message or whatever?" I'm like, "No," or they come across as not highlighted, meaning that you had probably seen them already, so they just don't catch my attention. It is what it is.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny.
And Stomp, I have this, this keeps coming up on my Facebook feed, so I don't know this guy, but I've seen his name around quite a bit. There's a hiker named Chase Hall. Do you know Chase Hall?
It doesn't ring a bell. Nope.
He's a gridder, and he's finishing his grid this weekend. Actually, he's finishing it next month on Mount Jefferson. So kudos to him. Congratulations. That's a big accomplishment. I feel like there's been a lot of people finishing their grids lately. I think this is the fourth or fifth person I've seen that's finishing it up.
Yeah, and for listeners that don't know, the grid is hiking all 4,000 footers in every month of the year. They don't have to be done, in order. You can just spread them out as you see fit. But that's quite an accomplishment. So it ends up being 576 hikes?
576 hikes. So Chase Hall, congratulations to you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Massive accomplishment.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, did I interrupt you on the Instagram, or I just promise I'll stay away from it for now?
No, it's all good. I'll just have to pay more attention.
Okay. So, Harry Potter Express suspends service. What is this, Stomp? I've been on the railroad at Universal, but I didn't know this is a real one.
Yeah, isn't it funny? It was the actual train that they modeled in the movie. So apparently this is it's in dire straits, and it's health and safety concerns, and they're trying to slam the doors on this 1950 carriage. You remember it from the movie, right? I brought it. I posted this because you're playing that game still, right? Or have you beat the boss?
I haven't beat the final boss yet. I've been doing side quests.
Voldemort?
Yeah. I think I have 2 more quests to do before I get to the final boss, which his name is Ranrock in this one. He's a goblin.
Interesting. All right, well, there you go, my friend. It may be over. This iconic train may be toast.
Well, that's too bad.
Slasher's hiking topic of the week.
All right, Stomp. So we're going to do a little mini segment here on summer hiking tips. So we've got a segment coming up with Brice in a minute. So I just want to get a little mini segment out of the way. So summer hiking tips.
Okay.
All right. So summer hiking tips. So a couple things that I got to get rid of some of the stuff in my pack and add some new ones. So just want to remind the listeners, so you need to get a water filter. Mm-hmm. So I recommend practicing starting your hike with minimal water. Do a little research ahead of time. Take a look at the map. See if you've got a drainage or a river that you're going to hike next to. Look for those water spots. Go online. Ask your friends. Whatever you need to do to get that info. And then what you want to do is start with no water, and then get to the point where you sort of the last spot where you can get a water source, and then use your water filter and practice basically starting your hikes with minimal water and then filling up on those water spots. So I think that's a good thing to do. So you can start light, and then that way you kind of get used to sort of integrating that. I like that too, because that's kind of like the equivalent of, taking off your heavy gear in a winter hike after you start sweating. This is the same idea as all right, a mile in, you're going to get your water.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So start light. And then it also just I feel like the water drinking out of the cold spring is way better than just filling up water at home and getting it. So
yeah, absolutely. There's nothing like it.
Yep. Yeah, it just, the water hits differently. So I also recommend that you get a bandana or some sort of a rag where you attach it to your shoulder strap, and that way, you've got your Vaucluse gear to deal with your back sweat, but you've got your bandana to deal with your brow sweat. The bandana is definitely helpful for that. The other is get the bug spray, the bug net, the deer fly tape for your hat. So I have a little thing of, I forget what it is, like an orange product. It's like a 2-ounce bug spray. And then I also have the bug net. I prefer to wear a hat with the bug net. So like a baseball hat, and then the bug net gives you a little bit of clearance on your face. And then for deer fly season, I have those sticky tape things that I put on the top of my hat. So I mentioned the Vaucluse frame, so like I always have that on my my backpack, so I'm not sweating on my back. And then trail runners. So right now there's some pretty good sales on trail runners. So I recommend, if you're doing a lot of hiking, if you get a good deal, like I use Brooks Cascadia. They're usually like $135 a pair. I just saw them on sale for like $67, so I bought like 2 or 3 pairs of them.
Yeah.
So I just have them in boxes and use them. And then permethrin for ticks. So treat all your gear for ticks. And then I also recommend a good pair of sunglasses, and then a rain cover for your pack. So those are some of the things. I was just digging through my gear tonight, and I was looking to say, like, all right, these are all the things that I got to add.
Rain covers. My new pack has one. I've yet to try it out yet. I'll let you know how it works.
Yeah, and I typically try to avoid hiking in the rain when I can, but sometimes I'll hike in the rain, and I got caught out, even with this Ultimate Direction Fast Pack, which is pretty light. I got caught out in the rain and it started getting wet. Like, it gets ridiculously heavy. So having that rain cover can be good. But that's it. What else did I miss? Anything, Stomp?
Oh, let's see. Did you add sun spray, sunscreen?
I didn't add that, so that's a good one.
I don't typically use that stuff anyway. I'd rather just, wear proper clothing or a hat just to keep the sun off me. But that's something that can come in handy. Yeah. Pretty good. Yeah, it's good start.
Yeah.
Permethrin's super important.
Yeah, I agree. I think the water filter one is the big one. Is like, do yourself a favor, start light. Get really comfortable about like figuring out your water source, and just knowing that when you hit your water source perfectly, and you start light, and then you fill up with that cold, river water. Yeah, it feels good. It feels like you're a real outdoorsy person.
True.
Right. All right. So then the next thing I had here, Stomp, was I wanted to just remind people about Evans Notch. So Evans Notch is like the farthest eastern section of the White Mountains that goes into, a little section goes into Maine. It's on 113. So you get there, you drive through like Freiburg, and then you come up 113, and that entire road there is like an amazing drive. It's like a 2-lane road that cuts through Evans Notch, and it's like a really beautiful area. So the recommended hikes that I tell people in Evans Notch, so you've got the Baldface Loop, which we've always talked about a bunch of times. That's a great area. Connected in and around the Bald Faces, you've got Eagle Crag, you've got Eastman Mountain as well, so you can actually do like 3 different hikes over there, or you can combine them all into one mega hike. There's also the Emerald Pool, and then Chandler Gorge that you can connect with when you're going over the Bald Faces. So, that's like 2-3 hikes put together however you want. And then I recommend the Royces, so East and West Royce. That's a great hike. Really, like, you're never going to see anybody out there, which is good. So if you want to be alone, or you want to, not see a lot of crowds, then the Royces are perfect. Then you got Blueberry Mountain, and then my personal second favorite behind the Bald Faces is Caribou Mountain, which is a really unique place. So Caribou Mountain's in Maine, technically. And it's got these like ledges that go on forever. It's very much like sort of Shelburne, Moriah, or like Carter Ledge as you're going up Mount Chicora. It just like continues on these different ledges that have sort of trees separating them, but it's mostly you feel like you're above tree line the whole time.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's always a nice time.
I got to take you up there. You haven't been up to Caribou, have you?
I have not. I've done the bald faces, but the others I have not liked.
Yeah, that's my mission. I got to get Stomp up to Evans Notch.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, I'm down.
We all know that hiking a mountain can be hard at times. So here's a corny dad joke to help you get over it. Ba-dum-bum.
All right, Stomp. So this is the part of the show where we do a dad joke.
What you got?
Why did the Clydesdale give the pony a glass of water?
I give up.
Because he was a little horse. Get it? The Clydesdale's a big horse. The pony's a little horse. Gives it a glass of water. Dun-dun-dun.
I love your explanations. Like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I have to make sure that everybody understands. So.
That's great.
Hey, what's that sound? It must be time for the pop culture segment with Mike and Stomp.
All right, now this is the part of the show where we talk about pop culture here, Stomp. So the only thing I got going on here is I'm still on my Harry Potter kick, but also I've been watching The Three Body Problem. And for the listeners, I watched the show. It's on Netflix, and I was like, I got to text Stomp. I was 3 shows in, and then I texted him, and I was like, hey, Stomp, you got to check out this show. And he's like, I'm watching it right now. So great minds think alike.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, Mrs. Stomp and I are watching it. We're on with the tail end of the first or second, but yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I can't put it together. I mean, it's mixing up so many different topics.
Yeah, it gets a little clearer after the 4th episode. It's like very clear. It's like it's not what you think it is initially. It's not like this political thriller. It's a true sci-fi type of show.
Oh, it's great. So far, so good.
Yeah, I recommend it. All right, Stomp. Time to do a sponsor here. Vaucluse Gear.
Yeah. Vaucluse Gear, our very special guest tonight. So, does your backpack not provide enough ventilation? Does your back sweat too much when backpacking? As you know, sweat can be extremely uncomfortable on the trails. Plus, sweat is a serious risk factor in both hot and cold climates. As your clothes get wet, your core temperature can dramatically fluctuate. This can result in hypothermia, heat exhaustion, and dehydration. Let's not forget, very uncomfortable. Today's your lucky day because we have good news for you. There's a piece of gear that solves the sweat and ventilation problem, making your backpack more comfortable. Vaucluse Gear's Ultralight Backpack Ventilation Frame. This ultralight frame is a backpack accessory that easily installs in your favorite pack sizes 15 liters to 45 liters and creates a ventilating airflow gap between you and your pack. It's also ultralight, weighing around 3 ounces. That's equivalent to a pair of wool socks. Whether hiking in hot or cold temps, the Ultralight Backpack Ventilation Frame from Vaucluse Gear is a real game changer regarding airflow and ventilation. So visit vauclusegear.com to order an ultralight ventilation frame today. Use promo code SLASHER, SLASR, to enjoy a $5 discount. Plus, let them know that Mike and Stomp sent you. And you can, just a reminder, you can get your free stickers at Ski Fanatics off Exit 28 in Campton or down off of Dascombe Road in Massachusetts, Route 93 in Andover at Spinner's Pizza Parlor. Direct message us if anybody would like to advertise with Slasher. We have a whole bunch of different options for you. And if you want to support the podcast in a different way, you can always buy us a coffee at the Slasher Buy Me a Coffee site, which just helps us pay the bills every month.
Very good. Very good, Stomp.
Yeah.
So this is the part of the show where we talk about what beer we're drinking. So what do you got going on?
I got nothing. I'm drinking liquid IV at the moment.
Yeah, you are.
I'm sorry to let you down.
That's okay. You would have let me down some other way anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'm drinking Reckless Brewing. I've got a Pretentious Hopper 7% New England IPA. It's pretty good.
Well, with all the feces talk earlier, Pretentious Hopper. That's good. Makes sense.
I think
the
that
theme going.
I don't think that's a reference into. I think there's a frog in the front, so I think it's like a.
Okay.
It's like an aristocratic frog.
Not that type of hopper. It's a
different hopper.
Got it.
Different hopper. Steve from Reckless is going to yell at you.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Yeah. So, all right. And then this is the part of the show where we normally talk about recent hikes, but we haven't been on any recent hikes because I'm the only one that actually hikes around here and I didn't get out last weekend. So,
yes. And I was snowed in, so I got nothing in.
I saw those pictures, man. I saw some of the pictures you posted. Like it looked like you had to shovel the taco out for a while.
Yeah, my Tacoma looked like a Ford F-150. It looked like it was 4 feet taller. It was ridiculous. We got a good 2.5 feet of snow, I think.
Yeah.
The only crazy thing here is that we usually get plowed out, and they didn't show up until about 3 p.m. on Sunday.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. So all the mass people that come up and utilize these condominiums up here at times, they were all stuck. It was a riot watching them trying to get out of here.
Oh, that's funny. I know my friend Jonathan. Yeah. So I talk about Jonathan and Tom a lot. So Jonathan had messaged me and he was like, I'm going up to Crag Camp up at the RMC huts this weekend. So I think they went up on Friday to stay over Friday night. Is that when the snow happened? Was it Friday night or Saturday?
Late Friday into Saturday morning and straight through, Sunday morning, basically.
Yeah, I don't know what the timing was. Maybe it was Friday, and they were, I can't remember, but the pictures that he posted about that. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that in a snowstorm. I'm not gonna stick around. I was like, that's gonna be a rough day. So the pictures he posted were just brutal, like of them breaking trail. And I think he said it took him like an hour to go like a mile on this one section. But then when they got back, their minivan was completely snowed in.
Oh man! Did they get out or what?
What he said online, I didn't talk to him, but I saw he posted online. He said that they parked close to the exit because they figured that they were going to have some challenges like getting out. So they were starting to shovel themselves out, and a Good Samaritan plow driver came by and actually plowed them out, which they were eternally grateful for.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they were buried at Appalachia, which is not fun.
Sometimes I get the feeling that some of these plow guys that block people in do it on purpose.
Well,
I don't know. It's just a
for
vibe
every one
I
of
get.
those guys, there's this guy that was, a Good Samaritan. So
sure.
Thanks to him.
It's time for Slasher's Notable Hike of the Week. If you want to be considered for the Hike of the Week, simply tag Slasher on your social media post.
All right, Stomp, we got some notable hikes here.
Yeah, let's go. So
we had a problem here because we only have like 5 or 6, and Dave Shits in the Woods is 2 of them. So now it's like,
how
do I
what's the story here?
Well, I mean, I already know what I'm going to do here, so.
All right. So if you want to tag Slasher to be considered for the Hike of the Week, do so on our Instagram page, and we will consider you for the Hike of the Week. So this week we have D. DeLay, who hiked Velvet Rocks Trail, which is northbound AT. Not exactly sure where, but it was very, very stunning for pictures. Dave Shits in the Woods tagged us for Mount Misery, Man Hill, Towns Mountain, and then also tagged us the second time for Knights Hill, Rose Hill, East and West. Liz Fay hiked 10 miles in Miaka State Park in Florida. Do you know where this is, Mike?
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I'm giving her the notable hike, though.
Why?
for hiking in Florida, because you deserve a Medal of Honor for hiking in that place. It's like smelly and miserable and gross.
And yeah, crocodiles and all that. Yeah,
exactly.
I agree.
This looks pretty, though. I'm looking at it online. It looks actually really nice.
Okay. So a couple more. So Coco Gorm, The Wave in Arizona, as number 17 of the 52 hike challenge that this person's been undertaking. So very nice, very nice.
Okay.
And then finally, Dave Shits in the Woods hiked Green Mountain in Claremont, Parker Mountain, and Far Hill.
Okay.
So Dave's out there killing it as usual. So yeah. So Dave has 3 out of 5 submissions.
I'll give it to Liz. I will say though, like, shout out to Green Mountain and Claremont. So I think that's the one that I'm thinking of, where it's the it's the tower that overlooks Lake Ossipee, I believe. It's a pretty cool. That's a pretty cool mountain. It's kind of overlooked a little bit, but it's got like a nice trail system, and it's got a cool fire tower on top.
Right. All right, sounds good. So what I think is going on here is Dave is trying the volume effect. He's going for high volume in terms of tags, and he's probably direct messaging everybody, telling them not to tag us anymore.
That's true. What he needs to do is go on a hike with somebody else, and then we give them the notable hike, and then he comes out at a later date and says he was actually with them.
Yeah, that's probably a good technique.
That
would work.
Move. Yeah. So
covert.
He can go, like, somebody will go to Mount Everest and Dave could go with them, and then we'll give it to them, and Dave can be like, I was there too. Awesome. All right, so stop. Now we're going to go into a segment here with our friend Brice from Vaucluse Gear. So Brice is here to give us a little bit of an update on all the doings, and I'm kind of interested. Like, he's sort of a good example of a hiking gear company that's going through like some decent growth, and he's going to talk a little bit about like the growing pains and like talk about some of the new product offerings and just give us a basic update. So it's interesting, like, the idea of getting, I always think about like, this idea for gear or something like that. It's not as easy as people think. So Brice is going to give us like a sort of a background on what he's been up to, and we'll learn a little bit about like some future plans for him, and then we'll hop out on the other side and finish up with search and rescue news.
All right, let's check her out.
It's time for Slasher's Guest of the Week. Very cool, very cool.
All right, so Brice, you've moved inside now that we've gotten a little bit of a tour of the area here. So I'm jealous. You're in a beautiful spot, but we did want you to just why don't you introduce yourself for the listeners again? So obviously we talk about Vaucluse gear and the ventilation frame and everything quite a lot, but why don't you just introduce yourself for everybody as a reminder?
Absolutely. So I'm the president of Vaucluse Backpack Ventilation Gear. I'm out here in Arizona, and I found you guys off of Instagram a little over a year ago, and we connected. I guess we have the same interests of enjoying the outdoors, but at the same time wondering if there's a better way to backpack with maybe a little bit more ventilation. As everybody probably knows, external frames have been around for quite a while. However, it doesn't seem that there's really been any innovation in this space. So a few years ago, I thought, is there a more effective and lighter way to create an external frame that maximizes ventilation for your favorite backpack? And through iteration after iteration, I came up with what I call just simply the Ultralight Backpack Ventilation Frame. So a pretty simple name. And then came across you guys and was delighted to be a sponsor last year, and again excited to be a sponsor this year to raise awareness, I guess, of my company and the product, but also recognizing that ventilation is an issue both in cold and warm weather. So you guys are up in the cold, you're dealing with hypothermia. I'm here in the south dealing with dehydration. So that's it's definitely something that's taking interest of a lot of people, because I'm excited to say that last year was a great year for Vaucluse gear backpack ventilations frame, and this year is becoming even more successful. So I'm just happy that everybody out there is interested in what we're trying to do here, and that's simply increase the ventilation on your favorite backpack, so that way you can enjoy the outdoors a whole lot more.
Awesome. And so I have a question. We're going to get into the details of some of the product evolution and news around Vaucluse. But one question I have is, now that you've gotten embedded with us crazy New Englanders, and we're not as mean as people sort of make us out to be. Do you have any plans to come to New England anytime? Are you going to actually check out our mountains at some point?
As soon as the snow melts and you've got a bit warmer weather, I'll probably be something of interest to me.
Yeah.
So out here in Phoenix, I'm definitely enjoy warmer weather. Every now and again, I do go up to Flagstaff to ski and enjoy the snow, but not much for the frigid cold. But yes, it is on my list of things to do, because obviously being a sponsor with you guys, I get a lot of sales up there, and I get a lot of followers on Instagram and Facebook. I've met a lot of great people, albeit it's on social media, but definitely it's on the list of things to do.
Yeah, we got to get you up here, and we'll get you on a nice. You can do a stress test, and we'll get you on a nice August day. We'll take you up on the Franconia Notch. You'll be covered in sweat and bugs, but not on your back, only on your front.
Okay.
So it'll be good. And then with all the work you're doing, do you ever get any time to actually get out and I'm assuming you do some hiking yourself to test the product and whatnot, but have you done any big hikes recently?
So what I try and do is go out and hike with people to test the frame. I found that one of the obviously, when you're creating a gear, a piece of equipment, and you're trying to obviously sell it and promote it, I find myself more and more in front of a computer or in meeting rooms, etc. And it's kind of taking me away from the outdoors. And I thought, well, that this is contrary to what I'm trying to do. I got into this because I do like the outdoors. So what I do is I try and hike at least 2 or 3 times a week, finding people here locally in Phoenix who'd like to test the ventilation frame. So very regularly you'll see me on the trails, either in the McDowell Preserve, if you're familiar with Phoenix, or the Phoenix Mountain Preserve, which is kind of more central to Phoenix, or up in the Cave Creek area. There's just a lot of great places to hike. When you think desert, there's a whole lot more. I was definitely ignorant before I moved out here. I'm not originally from here, but there's a whole lot to do. So I'm out on the trails quite regularly, getting people to test the frame, and it's one of the best parts of what I do.
Yeah, I will say I do get a fair amount of questions. Like, people will ask me, I'll be at a break or something, and I'll take it off, and people are like, oh, what is that thing? And I'll explain to them. And I have my rig that I got set up. So for me, I use it on my day pack. It's a 25-liter Ultimate Direction fast pack. So, and I've got this thing set up with my snowshoes right now. But you can see I've got the older model here. You've since kind of evolved this where it's a little bit lighter and there's less, I guess, material on it. But I like this. I find that it's super comfortable. I never really notice it, honestly, on my back itself. The only time I do notice it is when I'm hiking sometimes, and I get a cold breeze and I can feel it on my back, and my back does get a little bit cold, but that's the way I know that I'm all right, well, this thing's working because it's keeping me dry.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
True.
Yeah, so it's not bad. My daughter's got one too, and we've been really happy with it. But and Brice, I think you mentioned you've gotten some attention from different places. Like you said, Gear Junkie has flagged your product as one of its recommended products for 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. So the start of the year kind of hit the ground running quicker than we anticipated. So we had planned, slow and steady gets you to the top of the mountain. But in January, out of the blue, Gear Junkie ranked us as one of the what they call their best up and coming gears of 2024. And so. And I was familiar with Gear Junkie, and obviously I was following them, and I knew they had a big presence. But it's not until you get a little bit of we did not ask them for it. We had no idea that they were going to do this, but it kind of hit us with a really big wave of orders, and we hadn't anticipated that. I thought it would be slow and steady until the summer, and we've had to work. Extensively in the background. Now, if there's any customer out there, they've probably recognized longer delays than normal, and it's just. And my sincerest apologies to all my customers out there. I'm very grateful. I've recognized how kind people are with and their understanding, because I was speaking on the phone with a lady yesterday. She's out in Georgia, and she's been waiting because. Some of the colors keep running out, and some of the colors don't, and it's a bit crazy. But she was very nice. She's been waiting for about 2 months, and I said, we're just around the corner. And I know I've been telling that to my customers quite a while, but we've had to get into a new facility. We've had to get new frames more quickly than anticipated. We've had to increase the team. This is not my little violin. Saying it's really difficult. It's a lot of fun, but I've recognized that this is more challenging than anticipated. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun because we get regularly customers emailing us back with pictures saying, thank you so much. This is great. This is exactly what I needed. I get to keep my favorite backpack. I get to install this frame. The ventilation is improved, and I'm having a better time. So all of the anxiety, kind of gets reduced when I get an email like that.
Yeah, and your product. So do you do 3D printing? Is it done here in the U.S. or you get it overseas?
Great question. So the version that you have, it was 3D printed, and that was that actually took us about 17 to 19 hours to make. And so that's why when people, every now and again, I get a comment on social media saying, "Oh, I'll just 3D print it." I'm like, well, it's going to take you some time to do it. 3D printing is great technology, but it really still is slow. But there's no way that you can obviously make a whole lot with 3D printing. But it helped us refine our design, and so now we're actually doing what's called injection molding. So pretty much anything and everything that you have that's a plastic good. The frame is made out of a high-density polyethylene, which is a fancy word of saying it's the same material that milk jugs are made out of. So it's FDA approved. If you were out in the woods and you didn't have any food and you were on the your last line, you technically could chew and eat the frame if you wanted.
Really?
I tell people I don't recommend it, but it is FDA approved. It's injection molded out here in Tennessee. Well, out here, it's out there in Tennessee. So we really try and make everything U.S. made, and so obviously that takes a little bit of extra time to put all the pieces together, because it is much easier to just say we're gonna outsource this to somewhere else, and that's one of the reasons why this is kind of taking so long with the big wave of orders and what Gear Junkie did, and we're very grateful. But piecing, I really want to do everything in the United States, and it's just really you have to really hunt for people, and it's not to say that it's on. You can't do it, but it does take a little bit more time. But at the end of the day, I'm meeting some great people here all around the United States. I have people in Tennessee. I've got people in Utah. I've got people in Colorado. I've got people up in Wisconsin. And, it just takes a little bit of time to find them. But thanks to the internet, you can, and it's just putting all of these pieces together.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about, I'm assuming the show's still around, but I feel like you're ready for Shark Tank if you wanted to go on.
Hi Sharks.
What's that?
Have you ever been on? Hi Sharks. Have you ever been on a hike and your back is all sweaty? Yeah. There's got to be a better way. Yeah. I really like the show. It's very inspiring, and I've thought about it, and I've kind of wondered, well, if I were on the show, which shark would I want to do business with? And that's kind of like the thing that I'm thinking about. But I've thought about it. I don't know if I'm going to or not, but it's definitely out there.
Yeah.
We've definitely launched, and I can say that we're in a good space.
Yeah. I guess the next frontier for you would be to get like more of a presence in retail stores, I would guess, right?
That is something we're looking at. Out here in Phoenix, I've connected with the great thing with when you're on the trails. You're always meeting people, and everyone's technically talking shop, so we're talking gear. And through my hikes, I was able to connect with a business owner who does have some gear shops out here in Phoenix, and so I'm working with him to start putting on display some of my frames, and we'll see how that goes, because the retail space is a little bit different than the e-commerce, because you have to start thinking about packaging, you got to think about product placement, all that stuff, and it's definitely it's again slow and easy wins the race, and so I'm gonna start out here in Phoenix and see what that brings.
Got it. All right. So then from a product perspective, primarily it's the ventilation frame, and you've evolved that. So I have the first generation, which was 3D printed. You've moved to a lighter version. I don't know how much mine weighs, but I think the new version weighs like 3.3 ounces or something.
Correct. This one weighs 3.3 ounces, which is 1/5 of a pound. Your frame, it weighs a little bit less than 1 pound. Okay. So I used to think that was light, but then a lot of the feedback from customers of the Gen 1 was like, make it lighter, make it lighter, make it lighter.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've done. And it's really good. I mean, it's the lightest on the market. There are a few other frames out there, but I guess it all depends on what your definition of ventilation is. And so when I look at the other products on the market, I don't really think that they're providing enough ventilation. So that was one of the big things that I was trying to figure out.
I mean, the spacing, I think you've got it figured out. It's like you can't space. So for the listeners that don't have this product, like it's probably spaced out about an inch or so, and you don't want to space it out too much, because then you're going to get a weird leverage on the weight of the backpack. But it's definitely enough where the wind can flow through there and keep your back dry. So, I think that you've hit the sweet spot. And I think as far as the weight goes, you're always going to get that with hikers. Like they're going to demand like, it has to be ultra light. At 3.3 ounces, like there's no argument. No one can say like, this is going to add so much weight, it's not worth it. A pound, sometimes you could get that argument. For me, I don't care, but like some people would definitely be more of a focus on the weight. But at 3.3 ounces, it's not. That argument goes away.
Again, there's plenty of people that say that this is a great weight, this is super light. Again, if I compare it to other frames out there, this is the lightest one on the market. But obviously people have come back and said, make it lighter and I'll consider it. So I like a challenge. So again, slow and steady wins the race. I'm going to get to the top of this peak, and I've got a few. Again, it's all thanks to my customers. I love the feedback, the constructive criticism, even the criticism, and we're looking at figuring out how to make it even lighter. And how to make it more, some different functionalities as well, because some people are using it for different things. Like, some people use it to kind of like as a level, if they have their little cooking stove, or they want to sit somewhere, or they want to use it to sleep as a pillow, or they want to use it as a rack to dry things. There's a lot of different things that you can do with a piece of equipment. That's it's pretty much the size of your back. It's made out of a heavy duty plastic, but at the same time it's flexible and it's soft. So the question is like, how many different ways can we use this so that way it's multifunctional, and that way you've got a piece of kit in your backpack or on your backpack that weighs less than 3.3 ounces. As we keep shaving things off, but can be used for 10, 20 different things.
Yeah, no, it's great. And then can you talk a little bit about some of the new features? I think you've got some, potentially some new color options, and then some new product ideas around the ventilation frame.
Absolutely. So right now we have the optionals of colors for black, white, green, and gray. And we're going to be releasing blue in about 2 weeks. So there'll be. I did a poll to customers. I thought a tan, or some people call it like a coyote, would be very popular, but that one was probably ranked third or fourth. So we're gonna get there because people do ask it. But we're gonna have a blue, and you can mix and match the colors. And so we'll have the colors available. I mean, apart from blue, everything is available now. And then one of the other big requests was that I designed the frame for pretty much your typical day packer or a commuter who is probably only going to be using the backpack for 1 to 3 hours and probably doesn't have more than 20 pounds in their backpack. But what I have found is that there's plenty of people out there that, for whatever reason, are carrying 30, 40, 50 pounds of weight in their pack. Now, obviously, if you're through hiking, or if you're hunting, or you're doing some different activities, you're going to need additional weight. So those people have come back to me and said, I like the frame, but if you can make it more comfortable, because I got a lot of weight in my pack, or even bike riders or people who are rucking or jogging at in some manner. They've asked as well, like, I'm bouncing up and down. Can you make it lighter? Softer, more comfortable. It's not to say that the frame now isn't comfortable, but the second that you add any type of mesh or foam, it's gonna negatively impact the ventilation and the airflow. So that's why I specifically designed it to be as comfortable as possible without any mesh or foam. But I've had a good enough, response to say people who are with the heavier loads and the more rigorous activities, saying if you could make it softer, I would really, really appreciate it, because I've got my backpack on me for a longer period of time than I anticipated, or I thought of using it for, or have heavier weight. And so we are releasing a mesh sleeve, hopefully knocking on all the wood that I can find while I'm hiking, probably I would say mid-May. And so I'm working with a lovely company out in Utah that's going to help me do this. So again, everything is US based. It's sometimes, not to be a broken record, sometimes it's challenging to find some companies or manufacturers that can do this, so that way it's cost effective for customers, because there's a lot of gear out there. I'm trying to work out a price point to where this is accessible for everybody. So the mesh sleeve is the next thing that's coming out, and then not to speak for another 2 minutes, but then we are looking for a lighter weight frame. I don't know when that's going to be released. Probably I'm gonna have to push that out to 2025. Okay. And then even a backpack with the frame on it. So there's a lot of things going on. I really recommend just people, going on our website, obviously vauclusegear.com, follow us on social media. There's just a lot of different things, and there's things that customers have asked me to do that are very, very interesting that I would have never thought of, about how to multi-functioning, even to have it as as kind of like a fanny pack. So there's a lot of things in the pipeline, but it's again, one step, gets you to the top.
Yeah, it's tough as a new business to. Sometimes if you grow too fast, you can get yourself in trouble. So I think that we'll continue to pound the drum and encourage everyone to buy the frame, and then we'll look forward to any new product innovations that you have. So how do we? So you mentioned the website before, but can you walk us through, if people want to order this, what they would do?
Definitely go to vauclusegear.com. That's spelled VAUCLUSE gear.com. And Vaucluse is just the name of a region in southern France. I'm part French, and so when I was thinking of what do I want to name this, I thought to have a tip of the hat to this part of France, where when you're in France, you spend a lot of time outside, because it's really nice weather, especially out there. So for for the longest time, I was always going out, hiking, walking, eating outside. You do everything outside. So that's the website. I'm sure if people go to, the Slasher podcast, my link is going to be down there, obviously in these show notes. But, you guys do a really great job. And I want to just say thank you for you guys. You guys, I get plenty of customers. I always try to ask people, where did you hear from us, or where did you hear about us? And there's plenty of people saying, well, the Slasher podcast mentioned you, and I thought to check you out. So very, 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 very grateful that you guys, for what you guys do as well, because I get great feedback from customers. They saying, obviously, they love the podcast, and I listen as well. And you guys are doing a fantastic job, just kind of mixing it up between the obviously promoting a product, talking about different hikes out in the in the Northwest, but also giving some great advice as well for how to stay safe out there, but also making it a little bit, or not a little bit, a lot, very entertaining as well. So greatly appreciate what you guys are doing.
Yeah, no, it's great. And let me ask you this question. So Brice, if we were on a deserted island and you could only pick Mike or Stomp, like which one would you pick to be on like the deserted island with you?
Oh boy! It's almost like one of those questions if you found where they do interviews and they say if you were shrunk down into like 1 inch and you found yourself inside of a blender, what would you do to survive?
Yeah, there's no correct answer.
I don't know if there's a right answer. I don't know how creative I can be.
Well, I'll tell you, the hint is the right answer is Mike, but we'll let you out of that one. So. But this is good. So Stomp,
one of the cats. That's what
take. That's a good call. Yeah, that's a good call. Stomp, any other questions for Brice before we? I think you got to get rolling, right, Brice? You're in Sedona. Hopefully you got a nice dinner tonight somewhere with a view of the Red Rocks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. I love the gear. I use it all the time on my ultralight pack for my running, and it's been great. Yeah, so keep up the good work. Can't wait to see all the new products coming down the line, and we will definitely have you back.
And one last thing to all the listeners, there is a promo code. Just use Slasher, SLASESR Slasher, and it's I believe it's $5. So that pretty much, if you get one frame, that's pretty much going to cover. That's going to do like free shipping for you. So you've got that, and then obviously for customers, if people are thinking, well, I'll just wait until the sleeve comes out or another thing comes out, is I really recommend people don't wait, because what I do is when you're on the email list, I'm not spamming people saying I'm not sending emails every week, but I do send emails telling customers of when a new product is released, and so they get the kind of the behind the scenes discount code, because obviously the objective is to keep making better gear, but the only way that I can make better gear is to have customers order the current gear and test it out and give me feedback. And so it's kind of my way of saying thanks. And so the last few times that I've released new gear, I provide pretty healthy and generous discounts. So if anybody's thinking, do I get this now or later? I would recommend just get it now, because we've got the new color coming out, we've got the sleeve coming out, and then we've got the lighter frame that will eventually come out. So and I even give free T-shirts for reviews and critical feedback as well. So I really try and make it the most for people to be part of this journey with us, because it's we definitely, we're not an Osprey, we're not a Deuter, we're not a Hyperlight. We're slow and steady. It's great that Gear Junkie said, hey guys, check these people out, and we've also been had a partnership now with Garage Grown Gear. But it's the only way that we've gotten to where we are today is thanks to all of our customers. So a big thanks to everybody out there for making this possible. Really, really appreciate it.
Awesome. And then Brice, one other question before we let you go is the expected delivery time. So if we order now, are we still looking at like a 2-month wait, or is it going to be delivered sooner than that?
That is a great question. So black frames get shipped pretty much immediately with between 1 and 2 days. Green frames as well. We've had a little bit of a hiccup with white and gray just because we ran out quicker than we anticipated. But everything is going to be green lit, ready to go April 5th. April 5th is, I spoke to my team yesterday, and I tried to figure out, well, when are all the pieces going to get together so that way there's no more 1 week, 2 week, 2 month delay. And so April 5th is the big launch date of everything is going to be ready to go. Now, with that said, there's a current promo running now. So, if you're thinking about, well, I'll just wait until April 5th, so there's no wait period. But I try and, I guess, give some type of thanks to people who ordered, amidst all of this, all of these craziness that we've been dealing with. So there is a promo code now. So if you don't mind waiting for a few things, you can get a discount, and those discounts, more than likely aren't going to be there on April 5th. It's my way of saying thanks to everybody for dealing with my longer than anticipated waits and changes, ups and downs. Again, we're not trying to do anything. This is we're building as we're moving forward. So again, big thanks to all of our customers out there. But everything's going to be ready to go April 5th, but everything is available now. And black as always, that used to be the one of the most difficult colors to get out there, but now that one is almost instantaneous. So if you like black and you want a frame, you can get it now.
Got it. Good to know. And I have to imagine for you, it's like stressful. You have to basically project out what the inventory buildup needs to be, and time that out. And I would imagine that right now it's more of an art than a science, and then you're getting better at it once you get more sense of demand. But it's probably a bumpy road the first year or two when you're figuring this all out.
Exactly, and I don't have an MBA, and I'm not, I don't have really business degrees or acumen, but I'm learning as I'm going along. I'm an electrical engineer by education, so getting into the wonderful world of manufacturing is kind of it's exciting because it's a challenge. Kind of like when you go on a trail that you haven't been on, and there's some. There's going to be some difficult parts to it. It's looking back, it's all exciting. So I kind of dive into this stuff knowing that there's going to be some difficult challenges, but again, it's the people that really make the difference. I recognize that I don't have all of the answers, and there's people that can help me, and it's trying to get a great team together, and that's what I've been able to do over the past few months. It's a wonderful opportunity. So I can't, if anybody wants to start a business, it's not for the faint of heart, but, a lot of things in life aren't for the faint of heart. So, I'm happy to help anybody if I've connected with a few other hikers out there who have had some interesting ideas for gear and equipment, and they've wondered, well, how do I get this started? How do I get a prototype? How do I know if the market will like it? You can always reach out there. My contact details are on the website. You can even direct message me on social media, but I'm an open book. I got to where I am today thanks to a lot of generous people, and I'm just very, very grateful. So thank you. And again, thank you guys for all that you do in spreading the word.
Yeah, no, it's great to it's been great to get to know you and to watch the success, and hopefully you can wrap this up and go enjoy yourself in one of those excellent restaurants in downtown Sedona. You can have some wine and enjoy the Red Rocks.
Sounds perfect. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter as well. Amen.
Okay. All right, Stomp. Yeah, I really think Brice should go on to Shark Tank. I'd love to. I feel like that would be a good product for them.
Yeah, do you think? I haven't seen that show in a long time.
I haven't either.
It's still,
but
still
definitely
out there?
yeah, I think it's still out there. I don't know what the status is, but I think that he's got a cool story, and I think it's a product that makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, I'm a big fan. I definitely use it quite a lot. So it's
me too.
And it's interesting, like the growing pains that he's been going through about slow and steady for sure, but like keeping the manufacturing in the U.S. not easy.
Oh, sure, absolutely. And he's mixing up his whole process shifting away from the modeling to a different type of development for the product. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So 3D modeling.
Yeah, exactly. So fun
cool.
talk here, Stomp. So I think we're going to do search and rescue news and then wrap it up. But we got one more sponsor here, 48 Peaks.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. It's coming up soon.
Yep.
48 Peaks, Alzheimer's. Use your passion for hiking to help end Alzheimer's. In one collective effort, 400 plus hikers will climb New Hampshire's 4,000 footers or create their own challenge to support the mission of the Alzheimer's Association. The annual hiker celebration will take place Saturday, June 8th at Reckless Brewing Company with raffles, food, and an amazing community. Hike that weekend or any day you want. No fundraising minimums required, but those who raise $100 will receive this year's performance-grade purple t-shirt. Let's turn the White Mountains purple to end Alzheimer's. Visit alts.org /48 peaks, and that's the number 48 peaks to learn more. Cool.
Very good.
A lot of stuff coming up.
A lot of activity. Like I said, summer's coming.
Yeah, it sure is.
I can't wait to go to Reckless and party with them.
Yeah. So that's coming up June 8th.
So we got two stories locally here, Stomp. So divers search Connecticut River in Dalton for a missing Vermont man. So this doesn't sound good. So fishing game, sonar, ROV team and dive team searched a stretch of the Connecticut River in Dalton on Thursday, March 21st for a missing man who had reportedly gone into the river during the morning of Saturday, March 16th. Initial call came in that morning at approximately 3:30. That prompted rescue response from Vermont State Police, Essex County Sheriff, Lunenburg Fire Department, Dalton Fire Department, Whitefield Fire Department, and Fish and Game. No luck locating anybody. So it wasn't until Monday, March 18th, that Essex County Sheriff's Office received a missing person report for a 52-year-old gentleman from Lunenburg, Vermont, along with additional information that he might have gone into the river in the early morning of March 16th. So the sonar ROV team spent the day on Tuesday, March 19th, scanning the river using side scan sonar and a remote operated vehicle. So they did not locate any evidence that would indicate that someone was in the river. However, additional info received by Essex County Sheriff's Office later that day led officials to believe it was more likely than not that Madison was that the victim was in the river. This prompted a full-scale search, and by Wednesday, March 20th, they had spent multiple hours underwater searching the section of the river with the highest probability, but no luck. And then on March 21st, diving operations continued with additional resources from Vermont State Police. Both groups conducted multiple dives for hours, even with freezing temperatures. But at this point, the search has been suspended as the primary search area has been exhausted by use of sonar and divers. So terrible. But I'm assuming at some point, like if he is in the river, like the body will come to the surface and somebody will identify it.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah,
been a few of those recently.
Yeah, I mean, people have a way of finding themselves in bodies of water, and unfortunately, it's just who knows what the background is there.
Yeah.
Next one, injured hiker carried off of Mount Major. So there seems like a pretty standard situation this time of the year. So around 5 p.m. on Tuesday, March 26, Fish and Game was notified of an injured hiker on the Blue Trail on Mount Major. So local fire department as well as Lakes Region Search and Rescue responded in their 6x6 utility vehicle. So anybody that hikes that area, the one thing about Mount Major that I guess is fortunate is that it is pretty easy to get like these side-by-side vehicles up into that particular area, or at least get up like a half a mile to a mile.
Part of the way.
So injured hiker, 28-year-old from Nashua, was transported to the trailhead parking area and evaluated. I guess the hiker had stated that he began climbing the Blue Trail to the summit of Mount Major and encountered icy and slippery conditions, decided to turn around because he wasn't equipped to continue, and then he slipped on a branch and suffered a lower leg injury and then called police for assistance. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm sure that the snow. Matter of fact, I was going to go down and hike. I was going to go up to hike the Belknaps last weekend, and then with all the snow that came in, I was kind of like, just going to stick around.
Gotcha. Where's the Blue Trail? Is that the most popular one?
I think that's the main trail that goes up. So when you go to when you hike Mount Major and you go to the main parking lot, there is the primary parking lot. It's the right-hand trail as you go up, I believe.
Okay.
I'm typing furiously.
It's been a little while since I've been over there, but I know the primary one that overlooks the lakes, and it has that like 1/10 of a mile section of ledge that's really nice, and then it gets steep at the very, very end.
Yeah, this is it. The Blue Trail is like the main trail up that goes to the right, and then you take a hard left, and then that's when you start getting those ledges, and then eventually you get up to the main summit.
Okay.
And then the Boulder Loop Trail is the one where you go to the left.
And the Blue Trail is actually part of the Belknap Range Trail, isn't it? Isn't that the start of the Belknap Range Trail?
Yeah, the Belknap Stomp. That's how you pronounce it, Belknap.
Thanks.
Yeah. They call it the Mount Major Trail. So I don't know if there's like a single trail that goes there. Eventually, what ends up happening is this connects with the Belknap Range Trail, but it's not.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that the Belknap actually starts past Mount Major as you go into straight back.
All right, cool. Well, it's been so Q-word lately in terms of search and rescue, which is great. Yeah, it's been good. And then, everything's been good, Stomp, except for like our tech issues. You know, your camera seems a little gremlin-y. My recording seems a little gremlin-y, but we'll get through it. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll keep on plugging away. All right. Do we have anything good next week? Next week, I believe we are, let me confirm this, but I think we're dealing with the actual steward from the Harvard cabin. Oh, great. Who is down in Australia fighting fires. And we made contact with him. It's a funny story, actually. His dad reached out to us after that story was released and sort of made the connection happen. So logistically, we'll see if we can pull it off because he's a world away. And we'll see if we can make it happen. But that's on the books. And of course, we have 48 Peaks Alzheimer's coming in soon, too, to give us the lowdown on their summer that's planned. So that'd be great. Excellent. Sounds good, Stomp. And we will see you listeners on the next week, I guess. All righty. Until then.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at SLASRPodcast.com. That's SLASRPodcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks. Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game Officer officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words to describe this race. Do we all know what they are? Only one hill!
Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared, and I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us at all.